Hello, hello, and welcome back. All right, if you don't know how to get to where I'm at right here, just to recap, you log into the OLS, you go to class, class, then you click on the purple ELA class, and you'll see this bar at the top of your screen. You're going to go to content. Once you click on content, you'll come down through here. Scroll all the way down. Be sure that you're showing Unit 2, that's open if it's not already. And scroll down. We just finished up Lesson 211, so we are starting on Lesson 212 today. And I need to do something really quick, so I'm going to pause this video and fix something real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I've got it viewing as a student again, and to get to there, we go to content, scroll down to the side till we see 212 Seasons, click on it, and you'll see that you have a learn portion here and assessment attached to that. You also have a lesson learned here and the actual quiz that goes to this up here. So this first assessment, that's where you're going to turn in the persuasive essay that was talked about in lessons 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, and all these writing workshops. So 2.8 and 2.9. Okay, reference back to those. And I will be sending out a PowerPoint as well to help you follow through to write this. And if you need extra help, please see me during open office, and I'll be glad to help you with that. But this is where you'll turn in your final draft. All right. You have a lesson check, and then you have this quiz that's actually the quiz over this lesson. But remember, this lesson quiz will contain questions from 210, 211, 2.9, 2.10, and 2.11, as well as what you learned today. So keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and get started on the lesson introduction. Seasons. You focus on how a traditional Japanese form of poetry uses the seasons to depict more important ideas. Now turn your attention to two American poets and one English poet, Emily Dickinson, Robert Frost, and Christina Rossetti, who also set their work against the backdrop of the natural world. In this lesson, you will read 3 poems. The first poem is by Robert Frost, the second by Christina Rossetti, and the third by Emily Dickinson. Before you start with their poetry, you will learn a little bit about these writers and their work. Slide 2. And as always, we have our student guide that we need to download. All right, we have lots of learning objectives here. Apparently, it's going to talk to us more about that persuasive essay, which is good to review. We have some materials of a graphic organizer. Just going to go ahead and download that. Open it up. And it opened up on my second screen, so let me bring it over here. As always, we want to make this a little bit bigger here. Enable editing. So click on that so that you're actually able to type. And this is very similar to the graphic organizer we use whenever we read a text. Because this is poetry, you may or may not be able to fill out every single box, but fill out what you can. The more you fill out, the more you have notes to use on the quiz. Remember, those 212, the OLS quizzes are open book. It's not cheating. If you use your graphic organizers, the stories themselves, and other things that you took, and other notes that you took, like our review document. Not cheating, using your resources. Then we have our assignment. So I'm going to open that up. And I believe this is probably going to be the assignment to the persuasive essay. Yeah. This is going to go over what you need to do to turn in that essay. So we will talk about it a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and click on the enable editing and move it back over to my second screen for now. And the rubric by which you're going to be graded on. So let's take just a moment and do look at that rubric, because this is how you're going to be graded. And like the other one, I may change the rubric up a bit, but I still have high expectations for you guys. So it says here that your essay it's going to be a total of 20 points, again, just like the other one. Write a persuasive essay with clear introduction, body, and conclusion. 6 points possible. You should have 5 to 7 paragraphs on this one. So the minimum is going to be 5 on this. And everyone should write 5 paragraphs on this. You need to have an opening, you need to have a closing, and at least 3 body paragraphs. Okay? Most of you should have closer to 7, though. All right, let's see. High scoring. Okay, so to get the best grade possible, you need to follow the format exactly for a 5-paragraph persuasive essay. The paper should include an introduction. So your first paragraph is an introduction with a clear thesis statement. So that's what I'm going to be looking. Be looking that you have 5 paragraphs minimum, and that first paragraph is an introductory with a thesis statement. Then you're going to have 3 body paragraphs that support your claim, that have supporting details that support your claim, and that the last paragraph is your closing conclusion. Coherence, write the paragraphs that have clarity, unity, and coherence. So each paragraph demonstrates expert clarity, unity, and coherence. In other words, you're not getting off topic. Okay, you're staying on topic. All of your supporting details support your position on whatever it is you're writing about. All right, introduction and conclusion. Present a well-developed introduction and conclusion to the essay. Introduction clearly states the claim, and the hook engages the reader. Concluding paragraph restates the claim and summarizes the main points presented in the essay. It reiterates the author's position on the subject and connects to the larger idea. So basically, you're going to restate your purpose, restate briefly your claims, your major claims, and then you're going to tie it all together back in a nice, neat package back together. And this is how my points support the fact that you should blah, 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 blah. Mechanics and conventions. Again, you're turning in a final copy, not a rough draft. The last time on the persuasive essay, y'all did a great job of writing better, longer, but and most of you did capitalize the beginning letter and have in punctuation, and there were fewer run-ons and fragments in it. But I highly encourage you this time, run your stuff through, type it up in a Word document or a Google Doc. If you're in a Word doc and it's underlined in red, there's a spelling issue. If it's underlined in blue, there's a grammar issue. If you know of another grammar check that you can run it through, then run it through that. But I'm going to be majorly picky on this one. If it looks like it's still a rough draft to me, that's going to be a big point deduction. Okay, when you turn in a final copy to your teachers, it should be perfect. Y'all are so lucky that y'all have these spelling and grammar checkers, because back in my day, we didn't have those. We were typing up on typewriters, or if we did have a word processor, it did not have those checks on it. The very first word processor, Word, I believe, did have some spelling check, but it was not reliable at all. So be thankful that you have that tool. Please use it. You're not having to sit there like I did with a thesaurus and dictionary and a grammar book trying to check on my stuff. Have your learning coach look over it too. before you submit it and go formative. Before you click that submit button. Now, you should be able to go back in and continue to make changes, okay? And once you're ready to, you're totally good with it, you're ready for me to grade it, then you submit it in the OLS, and that gives me the clue, hey, they're ready for me to grade their paper. All right, that being said, I'm going to move this off to the side. That's what's going to be expected to you with you on that persuasive essay. We're going to go back here, and we're going to get on with the lesson, Module 1. Robert Frost. Robert Frost was born in San Francisco in 1874. He worked as a teacher, a cobbler, and an editor before publishing his first poem in 1894. Frost lived in England from 1912 to 1915, during which time he met several famous poets, including T.S. Eliot and Rubric. When he returned to the United States, Frost lived in New England and began to publish the poems that made him famous. His work focused largely on the people and landscape of the rural New England, but it still dealt with many universal themes and ideas. And a universal theme is an idea or question that has appeared in many cultures and literature throughout history. By the 1930s, Robert Frost was America's most celebrated poet. He won 4 Pulitzer Prizes and lectured extensively at universities all over the world. Robert Frost died in 1963, and pardon me one second, I need to go back to the student guide because I didn't look at all of our key words and vocabulary. So let me go over these real quick. Image, a picture evoked from the words in a piece of writing. Meter, the arrangement of words in poetry based on rhythm, accents, and the number of syllables in the line. Mood, the emotions or feelings conveyed in a literary work. Personification, giving human qualities to a thing or abstraction. For example, the kettle sang on the hearth, or after a victory, freedom held its head high in the nation. Speaker, the imaginary person who speaks the words of a poem, not the poet. Stanza, a subdivision or group of lines in a poem, like a paragraph in prose writing. Theme, the main message that an author wants to communicate to a reader. Universal theme, an idea or question that has appeared in many cultures, literature throughout history. All right, now we're ready to move on. Slide 2. Christina Rossetti. Christina Rossetti was born in London in 1830 to an artistically inclined family. Rossetti's brother Dante was a member of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, a group of artists devoted to realistic depictions of nature rather than an idealized version. Much of Christina's poetry was influenced by her brother's ideas. She's chiefly known for 2 collections of poetry, Goblin Market and Other Poems, and The Princess's Progress and Other Poems. Rossetti also published a popular children's book entitled Sing Song, a nursery rhyme book. Like her American contemporary, Emily Dickinson, Rossetti's known for being something of a recluse. Her poems often focus on nature and contain themes of love and loss. Christina Rossetti died in 1894. Theme, the main message that an author wants to communicate to the reader. Slide 3. Emily Dickinson was born in Amherst, Massachusetts in 1830 and raised in a very religious and prestigious family. Her father was the founder of Amherst College. Emily was schooled first at Amherst Academy, and she then attended college at South Hadley Female Seminary, now Mount Holyoke College. After just a year of college, however, Emily left and returned to her family's home in Amherst. She was very withdrawn and spent much of her time in seclusion in her home. In her lifetime, Dickinson composed roughly 1,800 poems, yet only 10 were published before her death. It was only through the hard work of Emily's sister, Lavinia, that the poems began to be published after Emily's death in 1886. Broken meter, vivid images. Most of Dickinson's poetry focuses inward and explores the feelings of the speaker, the imaginary person who speaks the words of the poem, but not necessarily the poet. Her use of long dashes, broken meter, and capitalization of certain words were unique. Meter is the arrangement of words in poetry based on rhythm, accents, and the number of syllables in a line. Many critics initially thought her work was too simple because of its straightforward vocabulary. Even now, readers are often struck by Dickinson's ability to convey complex thoughts and emotions through relatively simple language and images. An image is a picture evoked from the words of a piece of writing. Module 2. Read the poetry of Frost and Dickinson and Rossetti. Let's check out some of the poetry of Frost, Dickinson, and Rossetti. As you read, think about how you can connect the poems to your own life experiences. Read The Pasture, a Wintry sonnet. The Mourns are meeker than they were. These readings are found in the Literature for Young Readers, Volume 6. Use the graphic organizer to apply the reading strategy. So again, the graphic organizer you're going to be using is this one. Okay, so grab that, have it handy. All right, you can click on this link. It'll take you to your textbook. Remember, it's taking you to the front cover. We need to go to Poetry and Persuasion. That's the unit we're in. And our last story was on page 40, so I'm going to put this at 43 and see where we go. Okay, we are in the middle of it, so I'm going to back up a bit. Okay, we did not get to the right place. I don't know. Oh, maybe it was 400. That's probably what it was. Well, let's just click through here till we get to where we haven't read yet. We'll find it along the way. The 6 haiku, I think, was the last thing we read. The Pasture by Robert Frost. There we go. Let me write this down. The Pasture, Robert Frost, is on page 402. The Pasture by Robert Frost. And shan't is a contraction for the word shall not. And totters means stands unsteadily or wobbles. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the clear water I may. I shan't be gone long, you come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother, it's so young. It totters when she licks it with her tongue. It shan't be gone long, you come too. I shan't be gone long, you come too. Is that it for the poem? Yep, that's it for that poem. So think about, what do you point out here? Do you see any imagery? What do we learn about the speaker? What is the mood of the poem? How does it make you feel as the reader? Does it remind you of anything that you've seen either on TV or in real life? All right, let's look at the next one. A Wintry Sonnet by Christina Rossetti. A robin said, the spring will never come, and I shall never care to build again. A rosebush said, these frosts are wearisome. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't go over that. Wearisome means tiring, trilled means sang, Harfrost means frost, and crimson means a dark red. So let me try that again. A robin said, so do you know what a robin is? It's a bird, with usually here in America with a red breast. The spring will never come, and I shall never care to build again. A rosebush said, these frosts are wearisome, my sap will never stir for sun or rain. The half moon said, these nights are fogged and slow, I neither care to wax nor care to wane. The ocean said, I thirst from long ago, because earth's rivers cannot fill the main. When springtime came, Red Robin built a nest and trilled a lover's song in the sheer delight. Gray hoarfrost vanished, and the rose with might clothed her in leaves and buds of crimson core. The dim moon brightened, ocean sunned his crest, dimpled his blue, yet thirst evermore. All right, again, ask yourself these questions. What is this poem about? What do we know? What can we learn from the speaker? From the speaker. What is the mood of this poem? How does it make you feel? Do you see any imagery or other literary devices? What do you think the theme or meaning of this poem is? All right, once you've jotted down some thoughts, let's move on to the next one. The Mourns Are Meeker Than They Were by Emily Dickinson. The Mourns are meeker than they were. Oh, let me start off. Meeker is milder or gentler. Gayer is brighter or more cheerful. Scarlet is bright red. Lest fear that. Trinket, a small ornament such as a piece of jewelry. All right, let's try this again. The Mourns are meeker than they were. The nuts are getting brown. The berry's cheek is plumper. The rose is out of town. The maple wears a gayer scarf. The field a scarlet gown. Lest I should be old-fashioned, I'll put a trinket on. Okay, again, ask yourself, what do we learn about the speaker from this poem? How does it make you feel? So what is the mood? Do you see any literary devices, such as imagery? What do you think the theme or message of this poem is? All right, I believe that's it. I believe that's where we come to our, yep, then we get into Wordsworth, goodness me. So yes, that's all we're reading for right now for this moment. All right, then we go back to our lesson and we're going to go to Module 3. Check your reading. After you finish reading The Pasture, a Wintry sonnet, and The Mourns Are Meeker Than They Were, answer the following question. Which of the following best describes nature as it is depicted in Robert Frost's poem? Okay, if you need to look back at his poem, go back. Go back to where it talks about his poem right here, The Pasture. Which of the following best describes the nature as it is depicted in Robert Frost's poem? A, powerful and dangerous. B, fragile but beautiful. C, ugly and cruel. Or D, funny but odd. I'm just going to put one. I don't know if it's right or wrong. Oh, I got it right. Fragile but beautiful. So once you know the correct answer, you open up that Word document that we've been working on, our review document. You're going to come down here and you're going to put 2.12 so that you know that we're starting on that portion of it. And your first question, we're going to copy. And click and right click. And we're going to do this paste in the middle. Nope. Nope. I guess yes. But we're going to back out and we're going to put A. And we're going to put our answer. So click on it to highlight it. Right click. Copy. Click on our other document. Right click. And paste. And then we have our explanation. So we're going to go down here. Click. Right click. Copy. Right click. And use that middle one to paste there. And we're going to back out and put number 2. We're ready for the next one. Number 2, the speaker of the poem twice invites the reader to come to the pasture. What is the effect of the invitation? You come too. A, it creates a closer bond between the speaker and the reader who feels included in the action of the piece. B, it frightens readers and makes them wonder what will happen next. C, it makes readers think about how sad life can be. Or D, it makes readers consider whether the speaker is telling the truth. Choose your answer, check it. Once you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question, correct answer, and explanation into your review document. You may pause the recording until you have all that done and come back when you're ready. Okay, let's go on to question number 3. Review the images in the first 8 lines of a wintry sonnet. The behavior and language attributed to the robin, the rosebush, the half moon, and the ocean is best described as. So let's look back at that. A robin said, the spring will never come, and I shall never care to build again. A rosebush said, the frosts are wearisome. My sap will never stir for sun or rain. The half moon said, the nights are fogged and slow. I neither care to wane nor to wax nor wane, or care to wane. The ocean said, I thirst from long ago because earth's rivers cannot fill the main. So what, the images, the language attributed to the robin, the rosebush, and the half moon and the ocean is best described as still, hopeful, excited, or angry. Pick your answer, check your answer. When you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question and correct answer into your review document. Question number 4. How do the images in a wintry sonnet change when the poem's attention shifts to the springtime? So let's look there. When springtime came, Red Robin built a nest and trilled a lover's song in the sheer delight. Gray hoarfrost vanished the rose from with might, clothed her in leaves and buds of crimson core. The dim moon brightened, ocean sunned his crest, dimpled his blue, yet thirst evermore. The world becomes active and colorful. B, the world becomes still and gray. C, the world becomes funny and strange. Or D, the world becomes dark and angry. Click your answer, check your answer. Once you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question, correct answer, and explanation into your review document. Last question. The descriptions of nature in the Mourns are meeker than they were, indicate that it is, all right, let's look back at that one. The Mourns are meeker than they were. The nuts are getting brown. The berry's cheek is plumper. The rose is out of town. The maple wears a gayer scarf. The field a scarlet gown. The field a scarlet gown. Lest I should be old-fashioned, I'll put a trinket on. So do you think that the time of year is summer, winter, spring, or autumn? Pick your answer. Check it. Once you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question, correct answer, and explanation into your review document. And now you're ready for Module 4. Frost and the natural world. Robert Frost frequently used the natural world as a subject in his poetry. The pasture. Frost's speaker, remember that is the imaginary person who is speaking the words of the poem, not the poet, discusses two simple responsibilities that one might have while on a farm: cleaning the pasture spring and fetching a calf. In focusing on these two tasks, he creates an image of the natural world. An image is a picture evoked from the words in a piece of writing. Slide 2. First, reread Robert Frost's poem. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away, and wait to watch the clear water I may. I shan't be gone long. You come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be long, you come too. Move to the next slide to learn how the poem's depiction of nature creates an impression on the reader. All right, so I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away. The fact that the spring needs to be cleaned and that the speaker needs to help suggests to readers how delicate nature can be. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. The calf is new and vulnerable, nearly falling when licked by its mother. This further suggests the fragility of nature. Slide 3. How does Frost's depiction of nature in the pasture as delicate and fragile affect the reader? A, it makes the readers think that Frost doesn't understand nature. B, it makes the readers think that nature is much stronger than they thought. C, it makes the readers think that nature is unfair. Or D, it makes the readers see the fragile beauty of nature. Pick your answer, check your answer, copy and paste your question, answer, and any explanation into your review document. You may pause the video and return when you're ready. Slide 4. Speaker's voice. Check out the following 2 example lines from a poem. I love to look at the stars. The night sky is beautiful to me. I gaze into the heavens at night, hoping to see the promise of the future. Which of these 2 passages sounds more like someone speaking to a friend? The first passage sounds more like regular speech. The second is more formal. I love to look at the stars. The night sky is beautiful to me. I gaze into the heavens at night. A little bit higher vocabulary going on there. No, slide 5. Conversational voice. When it sounds like the speaker is talking to a friend, the author is using conversational voice. Conversational voice in literature refers to a style of writing in which the speaker is addressing his or her reader as if they were in a conversation. Frost uses conversational voice to make his poem more accessible or understandable to his reader. Examine the passage from The Pasture. I'm going out to fetch the little calf. I'm going out. Notice how Frost begins the contraction I'm. This immediately sets the conversational nature of the passage. You wouldn't use the word I'm in formal conversation. You would say, I am going out. Fetch. The word fetch is also conversational. A more formal word choice might have been gather or collect. That standing by the mother is so young. The phrase, it's so young, also sounds very conversational. When you read this, we feel like we are talking to the speaker and he is casually telling us about his day. It totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long. You come too. You come too. Again, this phrase, you come too, seems very conversational. We might turn to a friend and say in everyday speech, hey, I'm going to the store. You come too. Conversational voice helps readers connect to both the language and the content of a poem. Sometimes formal language, while beautiful, can separate the reader from the words in the poem. Conversational voice helps bridge this gap. Slide 6. Writing in Spring. Now turn your attention to Christina's Rossetti's poem, A Wintry Sonnet. While Robert Frost focused on just 2 small aspects of nature to show the beauty and fragility of the natural world, Rossetti's work is a bit broader. She creates an image of the natural world during 2 different seasons in this poem, winter and spring. Remember, an image is a picture evoked from the words in a piece of writing. Slide 7. Look at an excerpt from A Wintry Sonnet. How does Rossetti capture the reader's interest? A robin said, the spring will never come, and I shall never care to build again. A rosebush said, these frosts are wearisome, my sap will never stir for sun or rain. Move to the next slide to learn how the writer makes her points with the language of the poem. And again, you might want to copy and paste some of this stuff into your review document. The poet uses personification. She helps the reader to see what a robin and rosebush might say about the long winter. A robin said, a rosebush said. As robin and rosebush are part of the natural world, their feelings about the winter make an impression on the reader. What do robin and rosebushes have to say about the winter? Well, the robin says the spring will never come, and the rosebush says these frosts are wearisome. The language in these statements, the spring will never come and the frosts are wearisome, capture the stillness and sadness of the winter. Again, you might want to copy and paste some of this into your review document. Once you've got all the notes taken that you want on this section, move to slide 8. A fury of voices. Now turn your attention to the rest of the poem. Notice that Rossetti uses many different voices: the robin, the rosebush, the moon, and the ocean. How do the different voices affect the mood of the poem? A, they help give a very biased picture of nature and make them all seem happy. B, they give a more complete picture of nature and give the first half of the poem a rather sad mood. C, they give a very complicated picture of nature because every voice is different and they create a mood of confusion. Or D, they all say the exact same thing and the unity of their message creates a mood of power and strength. All right, pick your answer. Check it. Once you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question, the correct answer, and the explanation into your review document. Pause the video if you need to and come back when you've got that. All right, let's move on to Module 5. The Mourns are meeker than they were. Let's now examine the poem by Emily Dickinson. The Mourns are meeker than they were. The Mourns are meeker than they were. The nuts are getting brown. The berry's cheek is plumper. The rose is out of town. When you first read this poem, what was one of the things that stuck out for you? Was it the way the author writes about natural objects as if they were people? Think about the first stanza. Remember, the stanza is a subdivision or a group of lines in a poem, like a paragraph in prose writing. Notice how Dickinson writes about the Mourns, the nuts, the berries, and the roses as if they were people. She even capitalizes the word rose as if it were a proper name. This is a figurative language technique called personification. When a writer gives non-human objects human qualities, they are using personification. Slide 2. Analyzing Dickinson's poem. Reread The Mourns are meeker than they were. The Mourns are meeker than they were. The nuts are getting brown. The berry's cheek is plumper. The rose is out of town. As you read, answer the following questions. Number 1, why does the poet say that the Mourns in the fall are milder or meeker than they were? What do you think? In this line, Dickinson seems to be contrasting the milder weather of summer with another scene. What season could she be contrasting? All right, copy and paste, maybe that and the answer. Number 2, why are the nuts getting brown? What do you think? What kinds of changes happen outdoors in the fall? Here the poet is using imagery to show some of those changes. Again, you might want to copy and paste that question and answer into your review document. Number 3, Dickinson writes that the berry's cheek is plumper. What does this image suggest? How do you think this image describes a berry? What does the word plumper make you think of? Well, as fruit ripens, doesn't it get bigger like a grape? Yeah. And usually a lot of berries become ripe in the fall. Number 4, what does the line, the rose is out of town, mean? Here, Dickinson is referring to the changes in flowers from summer to fall. Think about how plants look when they aren't blooming anymore and the fall is approaching. So you're not going to see as many roses. Roses are out of town. They've left the building. They were there in the spring and summer, but not so much in the fall. And this does vary. There are some roses that do bloom well in the fall as well. But at this time, there were not a whole lot that did. Especially where she lives up in New England. All right, be sure you got all those copied and pasted into your review document when you're ready. Let's move to the next slide. 3. Theme and the Mourns are meeker than they were. When you're finding the theme of a poem, you should pay attention to the speaker, the images, and the subject of the poem. Let's check out how we determine theme in the second stanza, which is a subdivision or group of lines in a poem like a paragraph in a prose writing. Of the Mourns are meeker than they were. The maple wears a gayer scarf, the field a scarlet gown. Lest I should be old-fashioned, I'll put a trinket on. Maple wears. Here's an example of personification. The picture of a maple tree wearing a scarf. The field, a scarlet gown. Again, here's another example of personification and imagery. The picture of a field dressed in a scarlet gown in a very vivid image for the reader. I should be old-fashioned. This line will help the reader determine the theme. What is Dickens saying about the relationship of the speaker and the changing of the seasons? I'll put a trinket on. This line identifies the speaker by using the word I. The speaker seems more personal, letting the reader know she is not just commenting on observations. Okay, be sure that you take note of those, record them if you would like in your review document. Based on your analysis of the poem, what is the theme of the poem? Think about how the speaker views herself in terms of the changing seasons. If everything in nature is changing, what does the speaker think she should do? So put your notes, your thoughts in your review document. Once you've got every note that you want taken on Module 5, you may move on to Module 6. Okay, your assignment, persuasive essay, final draft. It's time to turn in the final draft of your persuasive essay. Make sure that all of your edits are complete. You've run it through a document to check those spelling and grammar. Based on the feedback you receive from your peers, submit your essay when it's complete, or let your learning coach look over it. If you'd like for me to look at your rough draft, email it to me. Review the grading rubric so that you understand how your essay will be graded. We reviewed that at the beginning of this recording, so go back and watch that and look over the rubric document. So there's your assignment and rubric document. I will look over the assignment at this time. We did not really look over that very well, so I will do that right now. You will turn in the final draft of your 5-paragraph persuasive essay. Remember, minimum of 5 paragraphs. It can be as much as 7. I would not go over 10. That would be overdoing it. Before submitting your essay, make sure you have A, a strong introduction with a hook and clear claim. B, you have body paragraphs with reasons and evidence that support your claim. You should have 3 of those. 4, a conclusional paragraph that restates your claim and position and summarizes your main points and connects your claim to a larger idea. Be sure that it is clear, there's unity and coherence in all paragraphs and the essay as a whole. And last but not least, please revise and edit for spelling and grammar errors. All right, once you understand the assignment, you're ready to move on to the next module. So here it is. You will be writing your final draft. Already went over that. So you will click on this link right here will take you directly to Go Formative, where you can copy and paste in your final copy from your Word document or Google Doc after you have edited it for spelling and grammar. And your learning coach has looked over it and says it looks wonderful so that you'll make a good grade. You'll enter this code when it asks for the code, AW9T6M. And once you have turned that into Go Formative, this is where you mark it as complete, and it will send a notification to me going, hey, Johnny says he's ready for you to read his persuasive essay. And I'll be like, okay, I'll go read Johnny's persuasive essay in Go Formative. Here's the lesson learn check. Check your knowledge. Poets use specific writing techniques to help them evoke feelings and paint pictures for their readers. Paying close attention to the speaker's mood and figurative language in a poem will help you determine the meaning behind the poet's words. After the following questions to check your knowledge, 1, what are some figurative language techniques used by poets? Can you think of some? Write them down. I love this picture, by the way. It shows all the seasons in one picture. I love that. All right, let's answer. Some of the figurative language techniques you might come across in a poem include symbolism, personification, metaphor, simile, and imagery. These are not all inclusive, but those are ones that are popularly used. Number 2, how do you determine the speaker of a poem? The speaker of a poem, like the narrator in a story, the speaker is not the poet or the author. It's just a narrator that is not the author of a story. Just like the narrator is not the author of a story, the speaker is not necessarily the poet. Okay, once you have those, be sure and copy and paste those into your review document, please, those question and answers. Before you complete the quiz, review your work so far, and make sure you've completed all activities. This is also your chance to review, so pull up any graphic organizers from lessons 2.9 through 212. Pull up your review document where you've been collecting review information. Read over it real quick and have it pulled up so that you can reference it back. Also, have your literature book open where you can refer back to the poems. I believe they started around 400 for this. No, it would have been earlier. Anyway, it goes way back, way back. But have those open where you can find them and get to them as needed. All right, when you've got all that, you've reviewed, you're ready to move on to 212. And you have 5 questions. No one's taken this yet. You will have 3 attempts allowed on this, so I'm going to go in and change that. You have 3 attempts, so do your very best work and good luck. If you feel like you need to go over this with me before taking it, like say the first time you take it, you don't do well, come see me during open office or email me where we can set up a time to go over it, where you definitely before your last attempt, be sure. I highly encourage you to watch this tutorial video. I hope that you found it helpful, and I will see you next time when we go over to 13. Y'all have a great day. Bye.